So we should. I think we are live.
Live and live and live. What's poppin', y'all? It's
Oh,
your
it's popping.
boy. Oh, I gotta mute my computer. Another day, another dollar for
Yes,
25
sir.
cents. How's the chat? How's the people doing today, man?
Well, I'm trying to get into. There we are.
Are you getting the Instagram? You letting the Instagrammers know that
Yeah,
we
but I wanted
out
to get
here?
into our chat. There we go. So we are live. What is happening? Watch Talk live. Back again for our people.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. How you feeling today, Scoop? Saquon,
Oh, feeling
CQ,
great,
Jesus.
man. It's a beautiful Thursday. Oh, it's Thomas Burnett. What's up, Thomas? Let me tell you something. I want to thank you so much, Thomas, because you made the homework last night, this morning, very easy for today's episode. So I'm happy to dedicate Friday's episode to you. It's going to be the Friday Bust Down episode in honor of Thomas Burnett.
We gotta play what's the Waka Flocka song where it's like bust it like the
Yeah.
twerk team. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, we're gonna have music tomorrow. We're gonna have music tomorrow.
Oh man. In good Friday fashion, man. In good Friday
Yeah,
fashion.
love it, love it, love it. Give me
But
one
yeah.
second to post Instagram up. It
Oh
did
man,
continue.
as always, Sequan. Come
No,
on.
what happens is like I have it ready, and then like when I go to do it, it deletes everything because it's like, screw you, CQ.
Yeah,
We
I
don't want
know.
you to have a.
They don't want you taking people from Instagram and putting them on YouTube. That's what it is.
Yeah, just give me.
You've got a minute. I mean, this is bad radio,
Yeah, I
when
know
they
it's
can't hear you.
terrible.
What's going on, SC? We're just
What's
hanging out
happening?
here. Sequan's doing a little promotion on Instagram. He doesn't get the link until he goes live, so that's why there's a little tape delay.
Exactly. All right,
You know what I'm
almost
saying?
done.
Bust it down Fridays, Thomas. You know what I'm saying? Is that a is your PFP a is that
Watch.
from
Is it?
Philly? Is that our boy? What's
I
his name
thought
again?
so.
The fanatic, not the fanatic. What's his name? Gritty. It looks like Gritty. Looks like Gritty. My dog Gritty, man. I'm a Phillies fan. And I'm a Flyers fan. I'm not a Panthers fan. We're not running with the Panthers. Just because I got to Florida don't mean I'm running with the Panthers. Flyers
Yeah,
all day.
what is stopping you from
Oh my
buying
God,
vintage?
Sequan.
I'm sorry. It's the phone is against me today.
Bro, just chat GPT that stuff going forward, bro, so we can
Yeah, yeah.
get the
I'm done. I'm
ball
done.
rolling. Oh man, so we're talking the best vintage Zenith watches. So I'm really interested to see what you've got for us, Sequan. I'm really interested to see what you're bringing to the class.
All right, let's go.
Is CQ winking at the cruise ship cruise?
Listen, listen. All I'm gonna say, Vimal, is we do what we gotta do in the islands, brother, to make those sales happen. Okay,
they, they
so
they don't know that they call you the hunter. They call
exactly,
like
you
he's
know,
out there. He's not afraid of any felines. Whether it's bobcats, cougars, tigers, he goes for it. You know what I'm saying?
you gotta do what you gotta do to make it happen. That's us in the islands. We do get very creative. When we do like a late night stream, I'll tell some crazy island stories. But anyways, let's start this show. I want to thank you guys so much for tuning in. This is Watch Talk Live with CQ and J, brought to you proudly by your sponsor, CQ the Watch Guy from Gottlieb and Co. If you need truly independent watch advice, check out cqthewatchguy.com and he'll be sure to, you know, help you out. Tell him CQ sent you. All right, and today's topic, which was born from Rose, who's not in the chat yet, is vintage Zenith watches, the best vintage Zenith watches to collect. This was something that we touched on last week or maybe the week before when we first started doing lives. I want to shout out Thomas Burnett for giving me 6 great watches to go off of and sent me down a really great rabbit hole about some amazing, amazing Zenith watches. And yeah, so that's going to be today's topic and the question of the day: what's stopping you from buying a vintage watch?
Frankenstein's, but go on.
I agree. Frankenstein's is definitely the reason why I kind of stay away from vintage pieces. But Zenith is an interesting brand. The price points aren't too crazy, and I feel like that's something people wouldn't mind dabbling into. And I feel like you're not gonna get hurt too much unless somebody's selling you the one on one prototype or something like
But
that.
then you reach out to somebody who would know if it really is the one one, like do your due diligence.
Exactly.
Anyways, yeah, sorry.
I think when you go to vintage, you gotta do due diligence the most. You really, really gotta educate yourself. But before we get into the watches, why should people collect vintage Zenith? Why is Zenith important, Jay? Tell the people.
I mean, you didn't give me much prep on this one, but
No,
my
I
my 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 guess would be that they are known for their movements. Right? Like, and that's why Daytona Rolex has the Zenith Daytona movement and stuff like that. So they are well known for their movements, the El Primero especially, correct?
Exactly correct. El Primero meaning the first, and this was the first self-winding chronograph movement on the market, and one of the
Mhm.
best to come on the market at that time. And I invite everybody, if you've never really read about the history of the El Primero movement and everything that went on, Teddy did a really good. Teddy from Teddy Balacer did a really good article, kind of going down everything, and it put together. Okay, I knew the story, but the timelines I really didn't understand as great as we were told in this article here. So basically, in 1969, they make the El Primero after stating in 1965, which was their centennial year, that they're gonna make a self-winding chronograph. Nobody else is gonna do it. We're gonna do it. They end up missing their deadline, and that's when everybody else jumped in. That's what we hear about Breitling, Hamilton, Dubois de Prada. They came together with Leonidas and Hoyer to do something. Seiko is doing, trying to make a self-winding chronograph as well. But the El Primero became the first to be made, even though it wasn't the first to be commercially produced. But not only was it the first to be made, it was just one of the better ones. So it ran, let's see here, it ran at 5 hertz, which means it could time to 1/10 of a second at a 50-hour power reserve, which at the time was super, super important. A few years later, Zenith, the electronics company, buys Zenith, the watch company, because of the quartz movement. The electronics company, they think they're gonna make everything so amazing. They don't. Things kind of fall flat. Quartz doesn't take off as well as the brand, and they kind of go dormant for a little while. Then in the 80s, they kind of die. Then they kind of get woken up a little bit, and Rolex hits them up for the El Primero, and that part of history just kind of writes itself. I didn't do the best job running down everything, but the reason why Zenith is so important and a brand that we really need to appreciate is that they were leaders in the field, and even when things got shaky, they came back, and one of the biggest brands out there chose to look for them to make it happen. And we must show the face of this amazing man, let me pronounce Charles Vermont. He is the person who decided to save the El Primero movement because Zenith, the electronics company from the US, they said, hey, we're going full into quartz. We don't want to do mechanical movements every way. Not only do you want to stop producing it, we just want you to destroy everything, which is weird, right? But they literally said, destroy the blueprints, destroy the machinery. We don't want to do it anymore. And this guy hit it all in a not an attic within the manufacturer. And then when Rolex called, he was a guy who said, "Hey, guess what? We actually do have all that stuff. Let's get to work." So definitely got to give a shout out to Mr. Vermont there. Now let's get
Um,
into the watches.
Vimal says the best vintage Zenith is the Zenith Daytona, and the rest can be sold for scrap. That's an interesting point. I mean, I don't know if I
Vimal,
agree, but I mean, it would be. You're right that it's the most valuable. Thomas Burnett said, "I'm a massive. He's massive on vintage Omegas for the past 4 or 5 years. His favorite periods were 40s, 50s, and 70s. He had seven, but he sold all of them. I wonder why he sold all of them. Man, I love me some vintage Omegas. Come on, man. Why'd you sell them?
I think excuse me, the 40s, 50s, and 70s, every decade, especially like when you go beyond the 90s, they just have such distinct characteristics and looks, and that gets me into this other article here, or this the string of articles that Fratello Watches did. They did the best Zenith watches in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, and I think these are great articles that really outline some special pieces. And I guess we could start here, right? In the 60s, we have the El Primero, but we also have this little baby Defy. Look at this thing.
Mm.
I, and I just love this era because you get so many just funky shapes that you just don't see anymore because I think shaped cases are so hard to do. But here is the original Defy for EJ.
I mean, that D5 wasn't that bad. I think they just got a little bit too big for their bridges with the stuff they're doing now because that's a nice case design. It's different.
I think so. It's different. I kind of dig the bracelet, even though I feel like I mess it up a little bit. They're just fun, unique. And then we get into the OG El Primero's 8384. And something about this case I just really, really love. Just because it's not truly round, it's not truly square, but you just got these hard angles and lines that just gives me a little royal look. I love it. I love it.
I see it. I mean, it's a chronograph.
It's a panda. It's like the OG panda. No?
I mean, and that's what. So it just goes back to like, if you're gonna just compare it to a Rolex, then that tells you all you need to know. And it's funny because Rolex went to them for the movement and all that, but it's like you still recognize Rolex over Zenith, even though they are the ones who made it. Like, you know what I'm trying to say? It's so weird how that kind of works out. Where it's like instead of you seeing a Daytona and be like, "Damn, look at this Zenith," it's you look at a vintage Zenith and you're like, "That looks like a Daytona." It's so it just like who's Drake said it best. It's not who did it first, who did it the best. And technically Rolex did do it better. Am I
Imagine a
lying?
Daytona with this case, though. I mean, in terms of which way, because when the Daytona took the El Primero chronograph, they had to tune down they had to tune down that movement. They tuned it down to 28.8 versus 36.6. They couldn't
Okay.
handle the 5 hertz, you know.
Sequan. How many times have you talked about Hertz when you're selling a watch? Please, God Almighty. And when you're talking about a Zenith and a Rolex, you know, I've never mentioned any kind of electricity or like amplitude only comes into play when you're talking to people who are buying watches on forums. Okay, so yeah, I get what you're saying that the movement and the inside of it is way better than any Zenith Daytona, but at the end of the day, the case recognition, the brand recognition is nowhere near the same. I'd rather be a Rolex than a Zenith.
But
Thomas
fair.
Burnett said, I just wanted to, he wasn't wearing the Omegas. So too many watches decided to consolidate to a core collection. Still around 15 watches. Damn, that's pretty good.
So
That's a
that's
strong
solid.
collection. But
And it's
yeah,
good to do that.
oh yeah, because you only have two wrists and most people aren't willing to wear two watches. So
Isn't that? Let me ask you in the chat. Is it, if you see somebody wearing 2 watches, is that weird or not? Okay, let me rephrase that. Outside of a watch meet, if you met somebody who wore 2 watches, would
but
you feel
even
that's weird?
even a watch meet, it's like,
No, at a
hey,
watch meet it makes sense. At a watch meet it makes sense because you like you have like your regular watch that you wear all the time, and then maybe like a vintage or something funky or like and you don't want to have your watch roll with you because if you're bringing watches to watch meet, it becomes okay. Am I bringing a watch roll that I might forget? How am I doing this? Or do I just double wrist it? And I know I came with 2 watches. I leave with 2 watches. Hopefully, I leave with the watches that I came with.
I guess I get what you're saying. I just I'll take your word for it because I've been to maybe one watch meet. Vamal said, "Love you guys, but Zenith talk is aging me real fast. Can we go back to talking fun brands like Rolex, Patek, and A?" So I mean, like I'm sure we will touch on those, but you know, you gotta kind of give Zenith a little shine sometimes. You know, like come on now.
The Vimal, we gotta feed everybody, and we can't just do RM every day. We can't do A, because then it turns into me just bashing RM and AP every day as well. So like, I gotta somehow.
Well, so Zenith was the first person to make a self-winding chronograph. So what did Louis Monet do? They just made a chronograph. Were they the first people to make a chronograph?
Oh wow! Very interesting point. Let's bring that up. So Louis Monet is set to make one of the first two pusher
I got you,
chronographs.
Vamal. We're gonna switch it up just a little bit, just a little
Yeah,
bit.
we're gonna get some energy in there, Vermont. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Rose said it, vintage said it. I just wanted to go there, but now we go Louis Monet. So this is what happened, Vimal. You started this, and now we're at Louis Monet. So just remember.
You did this yourself. Uh,
So Louis Monet is a very interesting brand. They make some very interesting watches. This is Mr. Jean-Marie Schaller, who's the CEO of the brand now. So the first chronograph was thought to be, I forgot exactly who else, but it's thought to be made later in time through research and discovery, and somehow he found the original pocket watch. This is the original chronograph to ever be made that was started in 1815 and completed in 1816. So he actually went, did the history, got it sanctioned by the Guinness World Records because all these other brands laid claim to the chronograph first. So Louis Monet made the first two pusher chronograph. I'm yeah.
Real quick, Thomas Burnett said that this Zenith was the real DNA of the modern Chronomaster sport. It shows that the Chronomaster sport isn't a Daytona copy. I guess the one that you were showing earlier, which I agree. I do think that they've moved on from what they did with the Daytonas. But Maul said Zenith made the first chrono. Wow, I'm turned on now. Just kidding. He's still aging fast. So show him something fun from Louis
Well,
Monet.
that's I'm trying to show. There we go. All right, so I want to show you some stuff you can spend your money on, Vimal. So we have two tourbillons, right, that are connected to these spaceships that kind of like Star Wars ships, and they're both spinning in opposite directions. And I could, I could charge you a lot of money for that
What's
right
the
now.
price is right on that one? Like, what's the?
This is gonna be like over 200,000. It's amazing, by the way. In person, like it's amazing. This is over $200,000. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 12 different slices of meteorite or moonstones in one watch, which is very, very nice. And I wanted to find, they do these $1 million sets. And all right, screw it. But that was our Lumino segment brought to
Oh,
you by
but
Vimal.
self-winding Zenith, but first overall chronograph Louis Monet is what we're saying. Is that's what
Exactly. First overall chronograph, but remember to have something self-winding on the wrist was just so novel at the time to not have to wind it to be able to wear it and use it and have that true utility was just something very very iconic at that time. So that's why people really really wanted it. I just love this. I don't know. I like a chrono with a timer bezel. But in the '60s, and then you get their their pilot's watch, which is pretty nice, which Thomas Burnett also talked about here. Anyways, you guys should check out these Fratello watches articles. I'm just gonna go to the list that Thomas sent us. Before that,
Julius Caesar is saying that I think Longines made the first wristwatch chronograph. So he might be right. Maybe the pocket watch was Louis Monet, and then Longines made the first wristwatch chronograph. I'm not sure. Not sure. Just
exactly.
Julius has been right time and time again. As he said, my favorite Zenith is a manual round chrono. Reference 5170J. That's my wait. Isn't that a paddock? I'm confused.
Yeah, right. Sounds like I'm not sure. I just want to show this big blue from the '70s because like I rock with this. This is one I think I'm gonna go and try to find and add to the
What year
collection.
is this from? This looks like some Art Deco 70s, 80s type of watch.
Yeah, it's 78, 72.
Okay. Okay. That sounds about right.
And you can see the Genta-ish, the integrated
Yes,
bracelet
definitely
style.
very Gerald Genta-ish. Thomas Burnett said, I've seen some of the Louis and Monet watches at Watches and Wonders. They have changed their designs now, but I love their heritage. Yeah, they've changed a bit since.
Yeah, they're trying to figure it out, man. Everybody is. But they do the quality of what you get there, and like if you go bespoke, maybe on another episode, I almost bought helped somebody buy a T-Rex watch, which was made with scarab beetle shells from marquetry, and then a piece of a T-Rex tooth as the mouth of the T-Rex. It was insane. It was insane.
That's very niche. Very
Yes, it is
niche.
very very niche.
I mean, hey, look, these are cool, but are these all vintage? Because some of these look, they kind of
Now
have that. But
these are all vintage. These are all vintage, but again, they've been doing the reproductions, and these are just such
ah,
timeless cases.
got you.
You
So
know
it's just reissued. Like these look familiar to me because they pretty much reissued them in a newer form.
exactly.
SC trolled us.
I
He's
know.
like, you bet it's Paddock. I was like, I don't know Paddock references by heart, but I can tell a Paddock reference when I hear one. So that's interesting. Their first in-house manual chrono caliber. Oh, I didn't know that. You probably knew that, didn't you, Sequan?
Yeah, that's why I was like, oh, he's playing a little bit. But I think after this, we should look at some Paddock Chronos just to cleanse the palate a little bit, get Vimal back in us. But I don't know,
He's already
maybe Vimal
gone.
might back up.
Vimal already left.
Yeah, he'll be back. He'll be back. What do you think about the cover girl? I actually like these.
It's okay. I mean, I kudos to them for some artsiness. I'm not a big fan of the like the triangular indice minute like markers. Kind of like. but artsy, nice, different. The
for
one
that
thing
time though.
exactly, the one thing I can say about all the Zenith pieces you just showed me, they all kind of feel the same, look the same, and we're 20 years down the line, and they still look and feel the same. So you could take that for what it's worth. Like we had the conversation of like a brand having an identity, and Zenith has an identity. Now we can argue whether that identity is one that's worth something or not, but um, I'm not a big fan of the cover girl. The one that I like the one that you showed earlier with the kind of Gerald Genta styled case.
Ah, I see. That was nice. So let's go to the Thomas Burnett hit list of vintage Zeniths. He gave me a nice short list of 6 pieces that he thinks people should check out, and I happen to agree with him. I think you remember this Super Sub A3635. We looked at this not too long ago with him by his suggestion as well. I honestly, this is something I'm gonna like. If I roll up on one of these in the right condition, I think I pick this up. This is a fun watch, nice cushion shape, internal rotating bezel there. You don't even think it's a Zenith.
And it almost looks, I don't even know what it looks like because it doesn't look like a Zenith. You're right.
No, it's like it's not a panoramic because it's
Yeah,
not
I was
thick.
thinking Panerai-ish, but the case isn't, she ain't thick enough. That's the only thing. Thomas Burnett was just like, I love my reissue Zenith 8384. And Vimal mentioned Urban Jurgensen relaunched
Oh
their website.
yes.
All
We're gonna get to
pieces are
that.
6 figures. Oh, he does not like it. He's not a fan of Urban's
Ooh, all right, all right.
Jurgensen.
So we're gonna get to that. Man, I had a very interesting. I can't get a lot of the details out. But we're gonna talk. We're gonna talk some urban Dickinson. All right, this is a yes for me. I think if anybody suggests a vintage Zenith, the Super Sub is definitely something I'm gonna show them. Then he suggested the Super Sub chronograph, which I think I really like as well. He said there's a Panda version. The ones that are Chrono 24 now are like this orange with black Panda, and then you also have a really fun silver dial.
I know
Price is
why it's
about double.
orange, but when I see orange, I always think Planet Ocean. Even though I know why. You explained the diving color, blah, blah, blah. But like, I see orange and I'm just like, Planet Ocean. And they probably did this before there was ever a Planet Ocean. That's the funny
For
part.
sure, for sure. But I think these are fun. Even on this little bracelet, I'll rock it. So Super Sub is a yes from CQ and Thomas Burnett. And then he picked the Zenith Diver
Wow. So
A3.
so they did this before. Like the one that we worked.
Exactly.
Yes. Okay. So then it's just part of their whole shtick then. Okay.
Yeah. So he didn't pick this exact one, but when I saw this big lemon, I was like, ooh, Jay would love this.
I learned today that lemons were either a rare occurrence or something that was it was either a rare occurrence or a orange mixed with this weird lime. And so the long story short is that life never gives you lemons.
It gives you orange limes.
No, it's like we made lemons up. So long story short, like we make most of our problems. Like so the whole life gives you lemons, like it
Ah,
never does. Lemons are a rare occurrence or they were made by men. So yeah, this is exactly what I said. It was made by men and it's flawed in every way. No, I'm just joking.
oh,
Um,
come on.
I'm not. It's just I'm not a fan of the way that the bezel kind of looks like it's rescinding from the actual. Like, am I right in saying that? Like the metal is above the bezel, so it kind of throws me off. From typical bezels are usually up top, so I'm not a big fan of that case
Yeah,
design.
you didn't like the Laurent Ferrier, so we understand how you feel about the bezel case, all the.
SC said, when I hear orange, I'm thinking 5168A. SC, I'm almost near your wealth. And when I get to that level of wealth, I too will think Aquanaut on my wrist. But until I can, it's a Planet Ocean for me.
I love it. All right, next watch up, we have a subsea pilot with the El Primero movement. And I wish I could have found the prices on these. But like all of these watches, like when I went down that list, Thomas Burnett, Sen is like everything I would wear. You can get them for reasonable prices. They're watch guy watches. And again, it's an El Primero movement, so I figure Zenith will service most of these. And they do have their own vintage CPO thing called Icons. They didn't have anything up at the moment, but I think why not? Why not jump? If you want something vintage, I like Zenith for
How
those
much do you
reasons.
think it costs to service one of these if like there's no parts missing, they just need to just get it up and running? Like, do you think it's cheaper to get one of these El Primero vintage El Primero movements fixed than something that they are doing currently?
Well, well, no, I think it's the same. I think there's so much El Primero movements and parts and stuff out there that they should be able to pretty much service anything that isn't like hit with a hammer reasonably easily for not a crazy cost. Maybe they might add like a vintage premium because it has to go to the vintage service center. I don't think so, but that's the most I could see there. Shout out Thomas saying that last diver was 1,000 meter diver in the 70s, which was insane. But in terms of servicing them, I don't think you'd have a hard time servicing any of these. Zenith is one of those companies that really
Yeah, that's what I was saying. I was alluding to the fact that because they have such a rich history in their movement, that like it's probably just as, cheap to service a vintage Zenith as it is a contemporary.
exactly. And let's finish off with the Zenith De Luca, which is one of their popular chronograph divers too that a lot of people point people to jump into. And again, it's nice, it's funky. You got the heritage, you got the El Primero movement, something a little bit beeffier,
Yeah, I
that's a
was gonna
little
say
more
it's a
neo
bit
vintage.
thicker. Yeah. Is that ceramic?
No, it just looks around. It's a good picture,
Yeah, it's very nice. Very well kept.
definitely.
Did they use aluminum? Or is that
Yeah, that would be aluminum back then.
okay?
All right. So before I bore him out, let's talk some Urban Jurgensen. Let's see who has the article
Is
for us.
Urban Jurgensen Swiss? That sounds so German.
No, the person himself is not Swiss. I believe he might be Dutch. I'm probably wrong there, but the original person was not Swiss, but now it's Copenhagen. Yeah, so it's for the oh, look at these watches.
Holland, right? Is it Copenhagen, Holland? Or no?
Yeah, in the Netherlands. All right, so
My favorite
Ur-
track and field stars from the Netherlands.
nice. So Urban Jurgensen is an independent brand that they're around I think like in the 2000s, right? I don't know exactly when they kind of went defunct, but anyways, they're back. Kari Voutilainen is like leading the charge. They're actually owned by an American investor. I forgot his name, but he's a hedge fund investor. So these are independently owned. Um, so here's the issue. Before we even get into the watches, Vimal is right. Um, these are all going to be six-figure watches. This is part of that new echelon of independence reborn, but reborn to the moon. You know what I mean? Reborn at the peak versus reborn in reasonable pricing, what I would consider reasonable pricing and floating up. So what we like from Urban Jurgensen, the Detente escapement, so unique movements and that Detente escapement. With Kyrie on board, you're gonna expect amazing dials as well.
Good night, SC.
See you later. I see. Enjoy dinner.
So wait, so they make a specific. What's the escapement? I'm sorry, you were saying that, and my eyes glossed over it looking at these
Yeah,
hardware
yeah.
photos.
The Tonic. It doesn't matter to be honest. If you're looking for Urban Jurgensen, you know why you're looking for Urban Jurgensen.
So
The issue.
why would you
Go
buy
ahead.
one of these over, let's say, a Google Force? Like, what's like, or is there not really an argument for somebody like you?
Yeah. So first of all, it's Alex Rosenfeld of Guggenheim Partners, along with Kyrie Vitolenin, who
Who own it now? That's what Thomas
yeah,
Burnett was saying. Kylie Vogelin owns it.
exactly. Um, so to be honest, you buy Urban Jurgensen because you're in love with the story, you're in love with what he's doing with the detente escapement. You're really in love in that part of chronometry, if that makes sense. It's really about the movements and the history there is what you're buying
Okay,
into.
but you said that the time escapement 5 times. So what is like? Can you give me an inkling of what that means? Like a little inkling. Like what's what?
I just want to do I want to do a good way of explaining it that won't
Like I'm layman's when it comes to this type of stuff. So it's like, okay, does the escapement make it like is it closer in timing? Like the amplitudes like super fine? Like your camera just went off. But like I'm just trying to
that's
figure
my
out
brain.
because like it seems like that's the biggest sell. It's like there's
All right,
something about.
So
Right.
the time escapement is type of escapement mechanism found in mechanical clocks and watches, particularly marine chronometers, that's known for accuracy and efficiency. It's just a different way to make the watch more efficient. I don't want to say the wrong thing here because there's a better Tim Masso explanation, but a more accurate timekeeping and a different way to get to that accuracy. Let's
So
frame it there.
another question for you. So isn't a tourbillon in a similar fashion, or the tourbillon was created because of pocket watches, right? Or am I tripping? Right? Correct me
No,
if
no.
I'm
So correct. So the tourbillon was created. All these refinements and inventions are to make watches more accurate. The
wrong.
tourbillon was created because you had the pocket watch, and that would be in one position all day. So gravity for most of the day. So gravity was pushing down all day, and therefore it was affecting the accuracy because at the end your accuracy everything comes down to the escapement and the spring, and you want to keep that as circular as possible. So by putting the escapement and everything in a tourbillon, spinning that cage, you're then
Always.
fighting gravity because your watch is rotate. The heart of your watch, your timekeeping elements, were making continuous rotation. Today we have a wristwatch, right? So you're moving all the time. So gravity is not being affected, having the same effect on your watch. When you
It's
go
more
to
for
detente
visual
and
for us now, like with the tourbillon.
exactly. The tourbillon is
Okay.
all visual right now. Yes, they do some accuracy things, but like the initial purpose is not needed for how we wear watches. So when you
Okay.
get into like things like detente escapement, coaxial escapement, natural escapements, these are all different ways to get to that accuracy, where but just like maybe using less energy or using the energy in a different way, and they all have their special reasons why they get to the same the same end goal in different ways. And
So, I mean, to put it even even more layman's terms, it's just like different way of getting to the end goal of like efficiency. So, like at Seiko High Beat, granted, completely
exactly,
different, but like it's the
exactly.
marriage of quartz and mechanics making it super, 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 super accurate. So, this is just a different way of making an accurate timepiece. And you just got to be into that movement and the history of the movement, is what I'm hearing from you.
Exactly.
Okay.
You're only buying these because you really, really enjoy independent watchmaking, Urban Jurgensen, or you're betting that this is going to be a Jordan type situation, if you want to be honest.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for explaining. Thank you. Thank you very much. Not the worst watches, but they also look very plain. So it goes back to you telling me that I have to care about what's under the trunk, when I'm looking at some of these models. And the case back looks great, but it's like it goes back to like, okay, I'm not taking the
Beautiful.
watch off to show people the case back. So when you show me the front of the watch and it looks like that, it's like, okay, $100,000.
I guess I
What's
need to see live pictures. The movement
what?
looks really beautiful. Big
Well,
tourbillon. Everything's
47
finished
hours.
well.
Because I was just gonna ask, what's the power reserve on these? And they're not automatic, correct?
No, no, manual wow. Which you would expect.
Yeah, yeah, I get that. Um, I am with them all that they're pretty watches, but I would agree that they flop given the price. I think 60K, 60, 70K. But then I sound like an idiot because I don't understand the movement that well. So I don't know what it takes to get that movement into the case and all of that. But it doesn't seem like $100,000 watch for a layman's. Like I would rather buy a Longa. I would rather buy a Patek. I would rather spend $100,000 on a Patek that is going for 100,000 than buying this new. Am I crazy in saying that?
No, no, not at all. And let's just get to the prices here, so you can. I want everything to make sense. We got a few different models. So we got.
The moon phases and stuff look good, but then I already know that you're paying maybe 50, 60K premium once you add any kind of complication beyond the time.
Okay, so we got the UJ1 tourbillon with a remontoire. So that's a nice complication there. So this one I think is going to be 300s, right? But these are tourbillons.
Tourbillons that you can't see on the dial are very perplexing to me.
Well, because remember, 368,000 Swiss franc. So the point of a tourbillon is utility, not design. That's why Patek tourbillons are hidden. Laurent Ferrier tourbillons are hidden. So it's one of those things, right? It's like what like is a watch for you? Is a watch for somebody else? And that's a lot of the thinking that goes into when you see a hidden tourbillon. That's what it's about. It's because like the tourbillon really is just about timekeeping. It's really not to be I always say like having a tourbillon in front is like having like a V12 or something, but driving with the hood open. Not everybody's gonna do that. It's the same thing when you're talking about
I'm
a
pretty sure that there
tourbillon.
are cars that have the engines that, are out, like you can see the engines from the hood.
True, there are, but not as many as you think.
So yes, okay, I agree with you, but then it goes back to like the tourbillon is no longer really needed as far as making something as that accurate. Aren't there easier and cheaper ways for us to get accurate watches that aren't tourbillon? So you're just kind of paying a premium for archaic movement, from my understanding.
Well, yeah, but that's the whole point of fine timekeeping, right? Of luxury watches, is you're paying money for artisanship techniques, things that people. There's no reason this tourbillon should exist, right? But the fact that it does exist, the fact that there are people who dedicated their lives to bring this watch in existence, in using techniques and theories that were, generated in the 1700s, but they wanted to make it today in 2025 and keep pushing that forward and still do the hand finishing and all the amazing things that are in this watch. That's what you're paying for, right? Like this isn't for the random person who just wants to watch. This is somebody who really enjoys true horology and wants to support that, and that's why people will pay for sure the $400,000 for this timepiece. Even though most people would be like, "Why would you?" I don't see it. You know.
I guess you're right. Luxury, like you said.
All right. So this is the UJ2, a three-hand watch with double natural escapement, with double wheel natural escapement. Excuse me. I kind of like the case he says. It gives a little bit of a Bulgari octo. I'll be honest with you. The lugs there, but again, it might be the pictures. These stock pictures never do these justice. But I will admit that the pictures leave me wanting for more. I think in person they probably look much better and have a depth to it. I just know Kyrie Vuitton and Dial, so I just know that they're gonna be excellent. These are 39 millimeters, 10.9 millimeter thick. What's the price point? What's the price point? Nice movement. What's the price point? 105,000 Swiss franc.
Hmm. I mean, as you said, like it goes back to like if you're really into this. I sometimes feel like with these with brands like this and other people, like you said, that the independent brands who are coming out during this time, it feels like you got to do some mental gymnastics to really convince yourself. Like because there's so many other options that you can get your money's worth for. So it's like you really got to tell yourself, hey, like this could be the next big thing. And like those watches that you showed me don't give me that vibe. No disrespect to Carrie Vuitton.
No, and you really can't make a direct comparison to these and Vuitton watches. So I just wanted to, cause like just these lugs. I know I'm stupid for making this comparison, but
Well, Thomas Burnett said, you're right. The lugs look like the Octoroma. And
they
I,
look a
I
little
do
bit,
see it. I
look
see it.
a little bit, a little
I
bit.
see it.
So this is a perpetual calendar with a double wheel natural escapement and instantaneous moon phase. I like the layout. This is very Urban Jurgensen layout, so that's why the layout looks like that. So I don't mind it at all. I don't know if I like the second hand with the date hand there, which I think that's what's going on. But let's see the price. This is what really matters. Really nice movement, and of course, in person, I think the dials will be amazing. 168,000 Swiss francs. So here's the thing, and here's my opinion on a lot of these. I don't know what the I don't know what the baseline is for pricing is anymore. And I love Kyrie Vuitton, I love the Urban Jurgensen brand, and I'm sure that what they have planned are amazing. But if your initial release is what I say 168,
Yeah.
so if your debut release is 168, that means within 5 years this is going to be a 185 Swiss franc watch. You know what I mean? So like it's like we're already just like, and it's an amazing perpetual calendar, but it's like for that money, I could get a 5270. I can get like any other classic perpetual calendar with a chronograph on top. So I don't know if this is special enough
That's what I'm
for me
saying.
to
So it's
jump.
like it takes a lot of like you setting aside a lot of things in your brain to make you make this jump. Like you have to be like, I'm tired of Paddock. I'm tired of AP. You have to be, which some people are. Some people are soured by their experiences and stuff like that, and so they will come over to these sides of things. But if you aren't soured on the major brands, why in the world would you take a shot on something like this? Like, because it's not that different. It's not that crazy. Maybe the movement is you explained it very interestingly. So it's like maybe there is something there, but beyond that, when I look at the case, the dial, and all that stuff, it's like, I'll just get a paddock, and I'll probably get two for the price of this.
Yeah, that's the thing. And again, you have to be really into natural escapements. I don't think any of these have the Deton escapement. But you have to be really into the movements and the chronometry side there. And again, I think you're buying this because you love Kyrie Vutulin and you want to support, but I think I'd rather buy a Kyrie piece than this, to be honest with you. And I think a lot of people who are gonna put money down for these are hoping that there's an upside. And I just think we've reached a point where
But that's so
the
many
up
brands now. Like they're doing that with
so
so many brands.
but that's the game now. The game today is that, right? Is let's get the collectors hyped up. Let's let something, because this was a big launch event to, and a lot of people who went to this. Let's get everybody hyped up. Let's you know see if we can get some pre-sold things happening, and let it launch, sell out. Let's do an auction. Let's let the let's have one go good at the auction, and that would make people think that like these are viable. But the issue is like when these pieces pop up on the secondary market,
You see the true value.
yeah, and that I don't know.
I mean, and I always feel like it goes back to like the whole like with crypto, you see Bitcoin and you think, well, like, well, if Bitcoin didn't do it, then so can all these other. And it's like the same thing with Jordan. It's like people see Jordan and like, well, if Jordan could do it, so can. But there's so many things that took Bitcoin to where it's at, took Jordan to where it's at. Like none of these brands have the the community, because I think we talked about this in the past about how there was such a big community behind Jordan, and then it was a perfect confluence of things that brought Jordan to where it's at. And it's like these people are trying to manufacture. I'm not picking out any brand specifically, but it does feel like a lot of these brands are trying to manufacture this community and like this they're trying to create a price point that doesn't really exist. You know what I'm saying? Like they're trying to make something, they're inflating the prices of these brands. And like, I'm sorry, these should start at 60K. I don't give a damn. Like, I'm sorry. 60,
No,
70K.
I agree with you. And Thomas Burnett makes a great point. UJ's heritage goes back to 1773. I guess fans of the brand appreciate the brigade-esque look and high craftsmanship. And it's true. Like the appreciation of the brand, I did a bad job really explaining why people should appreciate. But this is one of those brands that's been around for quite a long time in history, and then was brought back in like the 2000s, right? Because this is a 2020 piece. Then kind of went dormant again, and now it's being brought back with Kari Vutulainen at the helm and really good American
But
investors.
but but let me say this, to Thomas. Me and you are gonna have a conversation about the ship of Theseus in anime, and you can raise the same thing about pretty much every watch brand today that's not Patek and Rolex, where it's like, how many planks of the ship do you remove and replace before it's a whole different thing? The Urban Jurgensen dying and coming back 5 times doesn't make me feel like I'm buying an actual Urban Jurgensen now. The same thing can be said about so many other brands that died and came back because a millionaire wanted to start his own watch company. So it's like, so is it okay for these people to buy brands, put a name on things, and say, hey, you're now buying an Urban Jurgensen? Is it still the ship of Theseus? And my answer is no, I don't think so.
Well, I think I think that's a great question, right? Because the game plan, if everybody in this room were to start a brand, we would not use any of our names and we would buy a brand out of the
You'd buy a
trademark
brand
book.
name. And so
You buy the
does that
auction.
make
There's
you?
auctions. No, but listen. But there are many great brands that have been, ownership has been exchanged where people live up to the namesake, especially during certain eras. Brigade, especially 80s Brigade, 90s Brigade is a great example. AL Brigade, it was in the 1700s, you know what I mean? Blanc Pond which was just a name in a trademark book before Jean Paul Biver and his friend went together and brought Blancpain back, and Blancpain is still existing today. But the era that they had Blancpain in was amazing. So there's many brands that throughout history have done that. They've it's a dormant brand. Even Moser, right? Moser was a dead brand that was brought back. Louis Monet. There's so many brands. The issue that we have today in 2025 in the past couple years is a lot of brands are coming forth, whether they be resurrected zombie brands or new watchmakers, where they're just coming out very high in terms of price point. And because of the price point and because of social media and a bunch of collectors saying this is the next guy or whatever, all of a sudden that price point is justified. Where, I look at all these Urban Jurgensens, I'm looking at a Chrono 24, and these were the pieces that I sold a few of these. I fell in love with these design languages. So I guess today I was expecting watches that looked a little bit more like this, with these kind of teardrop lugs, that beautiful guilloche. So I was looking for like a time only piece like this around 70,000. Was probably where my head was at. Like something that looks like this around 75, 85. I know you're gonna have a tourbillon. You're gonna charge me out the wazoo for. I know the perpetual calendar is gonna be expensive, but I thought we would see something a little bit closer to this design versus what we got today for their time only piece, and the
Joseph
price
Brin
wise as well.
Joseph D said that's happening with almost all the brands, Longa, Brigade, and the list goes on. But let me just clarify what I meant because I think you also hammer home the point. I have no issue with people buying names of brands and like reinvigorating them. I take issue with people buying a name, slapping it on something, and saying I should pay $125,000 because of the heritage. That's the issue I'm having with this Urban Jurgensen because it's now under Kerry Voutelaine, who we all can agree that he makes great watches. But then you go on to say
Amazing.
this is not a image of his watchmaking. So whose watchmaking is this? Because it also doesn't seem like it's Urban Jurgensen's vintage watches either. So it goes back to why am I paying 120,000? You tell me it's because of the name and the heritage, but it's so far away from what it used to be. Whereas Brigade, Longa, those brands kind of kept the same vibe. Even Zenith, we started this by talking about Zenith, and Zenith, like we said, look the same till today. And so they stuck to it, and you're buying that Zenith heritage. Can you say the same about this Urban Jurgensen? Can you say the same about all these other pop-up brands that are causing $100,000? And you're just like, well, they started at 1823, but they died for 50 years.
I think these are all amazing points. I brought up monochrome watches so we can get some live pictures. I don't know why, but monochrome watches always has the live shots. Maybe they always have someone in no, but the release happened in LA, so I don't understand. But anyways, monochrome always has the live shots. So let's go through some live pictures here. Joseph D is right. Brands should just be honest about their history. There's nothing wrong with. Listen, I'm doing something with Chrono Swiss, right? We're doing an event out in DC, and we were trying to do this big thing with the history, and he's like, "Listen, man, we're not that old of a brand. Let's focus on what we're doing now. Let's focus on what we're great at. We don't need to bore people with history. Let's focus on the product we're making, right now." And so here we have
That's
these
smart.
pieces in the metal. Let me just.
Just so you know, Joseph D did ask anything new on the Type 20. So I don't know if you want to look that up after this.
Thank you so much for bringing that up, Joseph D, because I do have some thoughts. So we're gonna just run through these real quick, and then we'll talk about that brigade. And I'm interested to see what you
Don't shoot
think.
me, CQ, but I do gotta leave in 10. I just realized the
Oh,
time.
okay. So we'll make this quick. So I just want to see some live pictures of it, because these are
Well,
much better
the
than the.
live photos look better than the other photos. I will agree that they have more character than the stock images. $120,000 worth of character? I don't know.
Yeah, I just the
I'm
cases are
buying two
nice.
paddocks. I'm buying two paddocks off this. I could pick two 60K
Oh, this is
paddocks
nice.
and I would be happier than a pig in shit than buying one of these.
This is the best picture I've seen.
Would you spend your money on this over two paddocks or two
No,
longas?
I just buy a bunch of old Urban Jurgensen.
Oh, dude, that's the thing. You went on Chrono 24 and you saw what these things are selling for. And then they were vintage, but there were none in the 60K range. You know, they were like closer to 30. So that's why I just feel weird
I'd buy
about
this.
this.
I'd buy this right now.
Yeah, throw that on a strap and you're done, bro. That's why I'm confused. It's just like where do they get off telling me that I'm paying 120,000 and then you told me that they don't even have the movement that they're known for. So it's just like, so what are we buying? Okay, anyways, let's go to the Breguet. I like Type
this,
20s.
this is
Me
a
and
good
Joseph
one.
D are aligned in the Type 20. Type 20 talk. Type
Oh,
20.
the Batoon mystery box. Ooh, okay, well, that's another episode.
Oh God.
There we
ADD
go.
hitting
Here we
hard.
go.
Oh.
Yeah, so
Ooh.
we got two
Let's
new
go.
Brigade Type 20s for 250th anniversary
They might got
of
me back.
Brigade.
The rose is fire. What color dial is that?
So it's like a black. Let's see, got better pictures. So you got like a black and rose gold, kind of like that little anthracite with a little texture.
Vimal said, the more independent garbage I see, the more I appreciate FP Jordan. Agreed,
Isn't that
Vimal.
crazy? Isn't that crazy, Jamal? They don't have better pictures, but isn't that crazy? Is like people talk smack on FP Journe for so long, right? But let me tell you about one brand where I to this day have not sold a FP Journe that isn't worth more than I sold it for, or at least even. You know, as weird as much crap as you talk about a Zodiac, it's still worth what Zodiac is worth.
You're
But there's
just gonna
so
go
many
without
other
it for a
brands.
year. That's all.
Yeah, that's all. That's kind of part of it.
The
It's
no
just like,
date made all the difference. And that's actually a great point. It gives it a little more space on the dial for these. I really like that rose gold black. That is such a beautiful watch. This is a
so you buy
palate cleanser.
so you
Yes.
buy this watch. Yes. All right.
Yes.
All right.
But no, but that's not fair because I told you in the past my favorite watch was the Breguet Type 20. So it does kind of fit in line. They just made one that really speaks to me now. Like that is a very nice watch.
All right. So you ready to pull out the credit card? All right. All right, Jay. Let's walk down to the counter. Let me bring you up here now, Jay.
How much is it
Wait,
though?
wait,
How
wait,
much
no, no,
is
no,
it?
no. Listen, brother. I don't want to stand between you and happiness. So let's figure out the watch you want, and let's just figure out a way to get into. Because what am I? Who am I to stand between you and the timepiece that's gonna give you true joy? So which
Well,
one do you like, Jay? Do you like the darker dial? Do you like that this beautiful kind of a satin finish, silvery dial? It's a little bit brighter, but either one I think is beautiful.
if I bought this watch, I'd have to sleep on your couch. So no, that's not happening. Let's just be honest. But it's a nice
Nah,
piece. It's a
which
nice
one would you
piece.
prefer? The
Black dial. You know
I
what I
think so
think
too.
about white dials. I can't say it online. Even if
So
you ignore
now,
the price, the design language is unique. All indies either a ripoff of Breguet or some weird industrial blues. No, you're so right, dude. It's either like some old Breguet ass, oh, I'm classic, or it's like, I'm the weirdest thing ever. My name is Max Booster. No, I'm just joking. I love MBNF. But like everybody else rips off MBNF. They're just like super quirky, industrial revolution looking watches where it's like, yeah, we use the tiger tooth and a shark's whisker to make this style, and it's the most pretentious thing that you've ever seen in your life. Sorry, I'm done.
43,500.
Whoa, never mind. Where's the tourbillon? I'm paying for a tourbillon clearly because I don't even have a date. So why am I paying 40? Oh, Jesus Christ.
Not
It's
only is it not a tourbillon, the movement is covered by this big old this big main plate, so you barely see. Like it's really nice,
you knew
nicely
the
designed.
price and you try to set me up. That's what it
I, I
was.
I saw the price last night and I went to sleep
That's
because when I
crazy.
saw it, I was like, nobody wants to sell watches. Like I don't get it. I don't get it. I don't get how you could be in a room with business people and people who are in the watch industry in 2025 and say, "Hey, we're going to produce this watch. It's a beautiful watch, right? But we're going to put the retail at this at 43.5."
Nah, bro, there's gotta be they gotta be trolling. There's gotta be something wrong. We're getting the wrong pricing. Like that's gotta be Canadian dollars. No
No, no, that
disrespect to
that
the
what
Canadians.
this is why I went to the thing. I
This
looked
has to be Beaver Bucks. I do not believe it's USD. No,
around
no.
$45,200 for this version, for the limited edition version that's limited to 250.
Thomas Burnett says, I like Brigade and the fact that it's a no date. 300, 36.5 for the black dial.
So
38 for the silver? That's nutty. Because the silver dial is
so
not as
the
pretty.
fact that it doesn't have a date, Thomas, is the only reason this might stay above 30,000 on the secondary market. Might, just because people, it is a good looking watch. I could see people in the 30s
That's
buying it,
30. So
but it's
crazy.
not limited. 43.5 plus sales tax. Cause that's the thing, right? We live in sales tax world now. When I was born in this industry, we weren't in sales tax world. Well, now like everybody's doing the right thing. Nobody wants to get the audit, so you're paying sales tax. You're doing the right thing. Maybe they're giving you a discount, but still, I need a big discount to jump on one of these. I just don't. I don't understand it. This ain't Paddock. This ain't Longa. This
Well,
ain't
Joseph D
you know
says in stainless this would sell for short, but the question becomes what's the price point for the stainless? Because they're
oh
not charging
24
you
for sure. If they made it in stainless,
what the
it would be.
no.
Well, let's see what. Wait, no, wait. Let's see what a stainless normal.
That's insane. Stainless like 15,000. Unless there's something about the movement I'm missing because there's a no date, you can't even see the movement. You're smoking.
21 for the big eye chrono.
I'm sorry, Thomas. Me and you used to love Brigade, but you are now on this boat by yourself. They are too big for their bridges. The retail prices on these are crazy, dude. What?
24.5.
They would sell more watches if they were more realistic with their retail price. Because these are nice watches, but 20,000? Oh, that sucks. I think these will be released in the future in steel. I could see that, Thomas. I could
For
definitely
sure, for
see these
sure.
being released in steel. But if Sequan's correct and they do release them at 25,000, I I think that it's a hard pill to swallow.
Well, I mean, I
I,
have to, right? If you
well,
have
yeah, if
this
the
one,
Rose is already
and this one's 21,000, the Type 20, the 2067 that they make now. So these are already the 22, 23. So if they do this in steel without the date, they're gonna charge you 3 grand to
wait,
take the
so you
date
get
off.
one less complication and they charge you more? Like, make it make sense.
This is luxury, Jay. This is luxury.
Uh,
You are paying for the luxury of not seeing the date. You're not paying less because I have to do less. You're paying less because I took the inconvenience away of that
okay.
date being right there between 4 and 5. You see that date between 4 and 5, it's annoying you. So wouldn't you pay me an extra $2,000 to take that away?
They should have made the four and the two smaller like FP Jordan did.
No, no, they jimmy it in there so enough people will complain, right? So then when you make one without the date, you can hit them with a high price. But remember, it doesn't have the date. So that's the thing is like no matter what, there's gonna be one comment, one person who's like, "Hey, but they finally took away the date," and they're gonna use that as a win in the marketing room,
So what you're
as a win
saying
in
is
the
they
boardroom.
created a problem so that they could create a solution. That's all I'm hearing from you. 5 years in the making. These will be on Joma Shop for 40% discount by December. Yeah. I mean,
Correct, correct, correct. I would not even take that bet
these are not are these
anyway.
even reselling for the steel price retail? Are they selling for 25? I don't think so. I think 20 maybe. You're saying
No,
you said
somebody will.
30. I could see this on 1916 in 6 months being sold for 25,000, 28,000 tops. And it'd be 28,900.
27,995.
27,995. MSP is like, we would probably take 25 in a wire, but then we held it for another 5 months and it's now 2026. We've had it for 6 months and we're asking for $22, 22,000. And I'm telling you, this watch, it's still a brigade. No disrespect to brigade, but a brigade for that price point where there's not that much going on in it. It's not like a moon phase, it's not a calendar. So sub dials aren't even symmetrical. Yeah, I just saw that. Like it's got the mad eye moody going on where one eye's like, oh, quirky. Yeah, I mean, hey, to each their own, man.
Yeah, so great watch. Not a fan of the retail price, but I don't think I'm a fan of any retail price. So on the secondary market,
No,
let's keep an eye
Nautilus.
out.
I'm a fan of the Nautilus at
Oh
retail.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Listen, I love all Nautilus at retail price and opening
Daytona. I'll take a
price.
ceramic Daytona at retail.
When
Come
did
on
it
now.
happen,
I,
man?
I
When did
like
it
retail
happen that
pricing.
like the only things you like at retail you can't get, and everything else you want a discount on?
That's
Like the
the
world is
world, brother. I see a nice young lady on Instagram. I want it because I can't have it.
yeah, but
It's
like
been our human nature.
I guess. I guess. No, either way, we gotta go, guys. I want to thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure you upvote, like, comment, subscribe, tell your friends, and thank you so much for everybody who do tell their friends. It does mean a million to us. Tomorrow, I'm back. All right. Tomorrow is gonna be Bust Down Friday in honor of
Bust
Thomas
it.
Burnett.
Bust it.
So we're gonna have iced out watches all over. Maybe have some Hawaiian shirts on. Maybe no suits. It's Friday. We're gonna enjoy ourselves. Anyways, I hope you guys have a great rest of the day. And remember, if you need independent watch advice, check out cqthewatchguy.com. Get a free 5-minute consultation or a full 60-minute consultation. So many things I can help you with. Feel free to reach out. I'm here for you guys. Jay, talk to the people.
Appreciate you guys. Joseph D, thank you so much. Vimal, it's always a pleasure trolling with you. And we'll be back for Bust It. Bust It Fridays. Bust it. Bust it. I'll see
it,
y'all.
it, it does look like I'm winking at the cruise ship cougars right here. Like, please buy a diamond. Please don't you want a nice little diamond from this guy? Oh no. All right, guys. See you later. Thank you,
Peace
Thomas.
out.
Oh gosh. Oh wait. How can I end it? Oh, not yet.